Hello, everyone. Mo Zulfikar here, and today I want to tell you a story more than anything else, and maybe at the end of it, you'll get something out of it. So let's go back to 2011. This is the time when gold and silver prices at that time were hitting record highs. I was sitting at a conference in Toronto, Canada, held by a firm, that used to host these conferences. The participation at that conference was extremely high. Everybody was excited. And there was this whole idea that gold is going to go to $5,000 an ounce. Silver already was, getting close to $50 an ounce. So everybody was just excited. It was great. But in that conference, there was one person. This person was a CEO, was a CEO of a bullion dealer. They got on stage and they talked about how imports of gold in India, which is China and India, they have the biggest consumer base of they have the biggest gold consumer base. So, you got to watch those figures as well. And he goes on stage and he says, it looks like the import of gold in India are decreasing or slowing down. So you got to be careful with all the rhetoric about how Indian and China are going to buy up all the gold. At that time, there was a lot of noise about how India and China are going to buy all the gold because so many issues. There was also at that time Federal Reserve was printing money and so on. So there were a lot of arguments why these things can go to why gold can go to 5,000 and silver is close to 50 is only going to go higher. So he goes on to say that you got to be careful. And I remember at the end of the conference, and I again, you go to conferences, you talk to a lot of people, and that guy was hated. He was really hated at that conference for saying what he said, and he did not make a irrational argument. It was a very rational argument that, hey, you got to be careful with what's happening with Indian imports. A few weeks ago. A few weeks after that speech, I think he got fired from his position as well. I'm not going to name the bullion dealer, but I know it happened. I was there and I saw it happen. Um, that was very interesting to me. Um, you know, it was everybody talking the same thing over and over and over again. I remember at that time. There were people my relatives they were loading up on silver when it was at 50 thinking that it's going to go to $100 because everybody's printing money and gold and silver have a history of holding value. Yes, they do, of holding value. And you might as well now. There was a lot of argument about how the dollar is going to collapse, how currency system is going to collapse, and during those time, Bitcoin was also born and so on. But that's not the topic of discussion. Now, let's go forward to 2017, end of 2017, early 2018. I remember in 2017, I believe I went to a conference. It was a precious metal conference focused on precious metal out in California. And it was a bunch of silver miners, gold miners exhibiting. There were a bunch of experts out there talking about, what's going to happen with gold prices and silver prices. Keep in mind these conferences, when you go to certain sort of conference, you're going to see similar rhetoric across the board. But at that conference in 2017 was the most interesting thing I found was everybody was talking about gold and silver, obviously, but there were a couple of workshops about Bitcoin and what is coming next. What I noticed, again, this is anecdotal and like my evidence or my experience. What I noticed was everybody. It was amazing how you'd have these workshops about mining silver and gold. There wasn't much attendance, but there would be workshops about um, Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, and things like that. And you'd have the whole room would be packed, and there'd be people standing on the side trying to listen on what's happening. Now, why am I talking about this? Why is there a need to talk about these sort of things? I think, and I wrote about it on my Instagram page. If anybody wants to follow, it's at Mo Zulfikar. I wrote a few days ago about how silver could be entering in a bubble mania madness stage. And you have to be careful when this sort of thing happens. And why did I say that? So, what I notice, what is happening essentially is so you have this crazy move in silver prices, significant move. After 50, it feels like, we are at 90 very quickly. But that's just one piece of the equation. Fundamentals can drive those that kind of price appreciation. They can do that because there is that noise about how there is shortage of the physical metal. We have this noise about how the tariff situation, critical minerals, critical metals can play into silver market as well. There's China geopolitical issues and so on. But that's just one piece of the equation. The other piece of the equation is that we are now starting to see people entering the market, entering the silver market because they think it is a good investment because it is going up. And this is why I am saying that we are entering some sort of a bubble mania, madness thing in silver because people are buying because it's going up. And that's their primary reason of buying. Am I calling a top on silver? No, I'm not. Silver can go a lot higher, um, you know, uh, but I also think that silver is getting expensive. If you look, one of the best measure, in my opinion, to look at silver prices is to take a look at gold to silver ratio. I think there is some correlation with gold and silver, so you got to look at how gold is doing and then try to figure out the price of silver from there. Gold to silver ratio over the past 40 years has done something, over and over again. When it hits 80 or above, silver is considered undervalued. And when it goes to 40, 40 to 45, silver is considered, overvalued. And, if you just follow that indicator or that ratio, you would have done decent over the years. There have been instances um, where the ratio dropped below that range. In 2011, the gold to silver ratio dropped to as low as 31, and if you go back to 1980s, but that ratio dropped to around 11 to 12, something along those lines. So yes, it can go lower, but as I record this, gold to silver ratio is below 50 at the moment, and it's getting into that range of 40 to 45. So silver is getting expensive. Is this the top? I don't know. But what I can tell you is that silver is starting to enter an expensive stage. It can go higher because there's a lot of noise out there. There are a lot of people who are interested in it now. So yes, it can easily go higher. It can go to 100, sure. It can go to 150, sure. Can it go to 200? I mean, if we're if we're just saying it, then sure, it can go to 200, but you have to be careful. And why do I keep talking about being careful? So this is what you have to understand. Commodities go through these phases. You see this in commodities world where you see massive spike in price and then market adjusts and a big crash follows. Silver has done it twice in recent history, especially. In 80s, silver went up significantly and then crashed 90%. In 2011, silver went up to all the way to 50 and then crashed 70%. Now, Silver has been moving exponentially. It's been, for those who own it, it's been a great trade. But it may be time to be realistic. I am not seeing, uh, a lot of, a lot of not contrarian argument, but not as sensible arguments out there. It's essentially, oh, it's only going to go higher. Especially on social media, I am noticing a lot of noise about how what's happening with silver is going to create economic collapse or banking crisis and so on. So that sort of rhetoric makes me go, okay, like well, there's too much attention to it. Silver is getting crowded. We may be getting into a bubblish, mania madness phase. So you have to be careful because a lot of times what happens is when you're looking to buy or sell something, when you're looking to buy something, especially, you may be buying a lot more risk than you thought you were. And sometimes and the ideal time actually is to buy when you know or when you think your downside is small, but your upside can be huge. So meaning like you want to buy in places where your risk is low, but your upside can be huge, and that's where you make the biggest, killing, I guess you can say. So again, my point with this story was to tell you that you got to look at the other side of the story as well. Silver has run up, yes. The biggest driver of this move has been what is happening around, China and U.S. Physical market and so on, and now people are starting to pile into this trade. Yes, it can go higher, and I can't tell you what to do with your money, but what I can tell you is just be sensible, or at least try to think rationally here. That's what I am doing. Again, like I'm not calling a top. I can't. Nobody can predict an exact top. We're getting into a stage where risks are much higher. I hope you understand what I was trying to say here. Again, this is not a recommendation to sell or buy, but more about being rational, thinking before acting. Because what happens is, and I've seen this over and over again, you hear about things in the headlines in the financial press, or in now influencers talking about it. Uh, Around that time, usually you've already missed the boat. You've already missed a lot of gains. Yes, things can go higher, but how high can they go? Can they double? Can it go triple or quadruple or so on? Um, so just keep that in mind. Again, not telling you to short or long, but just keep that in mind what is happening. And there is crowded factor here. Silver is getting crowded. I hope you like what I told you and understood what I'm trying to say. Keep watching this channel, subscribe to the channel, like this video, tell your friends and family about it. Just so you know, I am starting Zulfikar Research. It's independent, no fluff financial market research. I'm trying to do something different than the industry is used to or people are used to. I'm trying to bring in ideas that nobody wants to talk about. I'm trying to bring ideas that are different and maybe unique. So stay tuned. 2026. I'm hoping it to be. I'm hoping to publish a lot of content, a lot of information that could help individual and institutional investors. Thanks for watching.